Say it out loud right now before you even finish this sentence. I think I already know this. Good. Keep that sentence in your mind because in the next few minutes, I'm going to hand you one real conversation. Just one. And that conversation is going to show you exactly which parts of your English are textbook, strong, and which parts quietly fall apart. The moment a real person starts talking to you at real speed, with real emotion and real unpredictability. By the end of this video, you will walk away with over 60 pieces of advanced C1, C2 vocabulary, used the way native speakers actually use them, not the way a grammar book lists them, and you will know precisely how to sound like someone who lives in English, not someone who studies it. My name is Olivia, and this is Natural Word English. If this is your first time here, welcome. And if you've been here before, you already know what we do. We don't memorize word lists. We build vocabulary the way your brain actually keeps it inside real situations, real conversations, real feelings, so that when the moment comes, the word is just there, waiting, ready, without you having to search for it. Here's why this method works better than flashcards, and I promise this will take less than 90 seconds. When you learn a word in isolation, like meticulous, your brain files it away as a definition, a fact, something you know about. But when you learn meticulous inside a story, inside a sentence someone says to a coworker who missed a tiny detail on a report, your brain files it as an experience, something you lived through. And experiences are what your mouth reaches for automatically in a real conversation, not facts. That's the entire difference between someone who knows 5,000 words and someone who can only actually use 500 of them. Today, we close that gap. So here's how this works. I'm going to walk you through a series of real-life situations, one after another, workplace conversations, emotional moments, everyday mix-ups, technology talk, travel stories, and inside every single one, I'll hand you the exact advanced vocabulary a native speaker would reach for. You'll hear the word, you'll hear what it replaces, you'll hear it in a natural sentence, and then I want you to say it out loud immediately after me. Not in your head, out loud. That's called shadowing, and we'll talk more about exactly how to do it properly in a few minutes. Because doing it right changes everything. Let's start with the conversation that exposes more weaknesses than any other. The real workplace conversation. Picture this. You walk into a meeting room. The lights are a little too bright. There's a half-empty coffee cup on the table, and your manager looks up from her laptop and says, "Can you walk me through what happened with the client yesterday?" And this is the exact moment where textbook English quietly falls apart, because in this moment, you don't need vocabulary you memorized. You need vocabulary you can pull out instantly under a little bit of pressure while someone is actually looking at you and waiting. So let's build that vocabulary together. The first word is articulate. If someone says, "She articulated her concerns clearly," they mean she expressed her thoughts in a way that was clear and easy to follow, not confusing, not vague. It upgrades the basic word, explain. Listen to it in context. I need you to articulate exactly what went wrong so the whole team understands it the same way. Say that with me now, out loud. I need you to articulate exactly what went wrong. Next, elaborate on. This means to give more detail about something you already mentioned. Mock, it upgrades. Explain more. In our meeting, your manager might say, "Can you elaborate on what the client actually said?" And you might answer, "Sure, let me elaborate on that." Repeat after me. Can you elaborate on that? Here's where I want to slow down and show you something native speakers do constantly that almost no textbook teaches properly: connected speech. When people speak quickly and naturally, words blend into each other. Listen to this sentence slowly first. What are you doing today? Now listen to how a native speaker actually says it at real conversational speed. What you doing today? The "what are you" collapses into something closer to "whatcha." Try saying it slowly first. What are you doing? Now try it fast, the way you'd actually hear it on the street. What you doing? That gap between the slow version and the fast version is exactly why so many advanced learners understand English perfectly on paper, but freeze during a real conversation. Their ears were trained on the slow version, and their mouths were never trained on the fast one. Let's go back into our meeting room. Your manager wants specific information, and this is where the word nuance comes in. Nuance means a small, subtle difference in meaning, tone, or detail. Something that isn't obvious at first glance. There was a nuance in the way the client phrased their complaint that made me think it wasn't really about the price. This word instantly signals that you're paying close attention to detail, not just giving a surface-level answer. Say it with me. There was a nuance in how they said it. Now, something a lot of people confuse, even at an advanced level: imply versus infer. These two words get mixed up constantly, and mixing them up is one of those small mistakes that instantly signals to a native speaker that English isn't your first language, even if everything else you say is fluent. Imply means you suggest something without saying it directly. Infer means you understand something without being told directly. The speaker implies. The listener infers. So if your manager says, "I'm not saying you made a mistake, but," she's implying something. And if you think, "I think she's upset with me," you are inferring something from what she said. Listen to the difference again. She implied that the deadline might move. I inferred from her tone that she was frustrated. Say both sentences with me. She implied it. I inferred it. Let's imagine the conversation continues. And now I want to show you exactly how a real dialogue unfolds, with pauses, hesitation, and multiple exchanges, not just one clean sentence like you'd find in a textbook. Picture the scene with me for a second. The meeting room is quiet, except for the hum of the air conditioner. Your manager sets down her coffee cup and leans forward slightly, waiting. Manager: so, walk me through it. What actually happened with the client? You: honestly, it started off fine, but there was a nuance in their tone that made me a little apprehensive. Manager: apprehensive how? You: like they were being diplomatic on the surface, but underneath it I could tell something wasn't sitting right with them. Manager: did you ask them directly? You: I did, and they were pretty candid about it once I asked. Turns out the real issue wasn't the price at all. It was the delivery timeline. Manager: okay, that's useful. Can you elaborate on what they said about the timeline specifically? Notice how that conversation didn't stay flat. It moved, it had follow-up questions, it had one person reacting to what the other person just said. That's what real conversations do, and that's exactly what most textbook dialogues fail to capture. Two new words appeared there that I want to slow down on. Apprehensive means nervous or worried about something that might happen. A slightly more sophisticated way of saying worried or nervous. I felt apprehensive about presenting in front of the whole team. Say it with me. I felt apprehensive. And diplomatic, which means handling a sensitive situation carefully and tactfully without upsetting anyone, even if the truth is a little uncomfortable. She was diplomatic about the mistake. She didn't want to embarrass anyone in front of the group. Say it. She was diplomatic about it. And right next to diplomatic sits its partner word, candid, which means honest and direct, sometimes surprisingly so, saying exactly what you think without softening it. Notice the contrast. Someone can start out diplomatic, choosing their words carefully, and then become candid once they feel comfortable being fully honest. Once we were alone, he was candid about how disappointed he actually was. Say it. He was candid with me. Now here's something I want you to try right now, immediately. No waiting. I'm going to give you a line, and I want you to answer as if you're the client in that meeting, being asked directly why you're unhappy with the delivery timeline. I'll play the manager's role first. Then I'll pause, and I genuinely want you to answer out loud in your own words before I give you an example answer. Ready? Here's my line. I want you to be completely candid with me. What's really bothering you about this project? Pause the video right here for a few seconds and answer that question out loud in English, using your own words. Now here's an example of how someone might respond. Honestly, I don't think the price is the issue anymore. What's really bothering me is that every time we ask for an update, we get a vague answer instead of something concrete. Notice the word vague in there, meaning unclear, not specific, the opposite of precise. His answer was so vague. I still don't know what he actually meant. Say it. That answer was vague. Let's keep building this workplace block, because there's one more skill hiding inside every real conversations that textbooks almost never teach directly. knowing when to reiterate something instead of just repeating it. Reiterate means to say something again, usually to emphasize it or make sure it was understood, and it sounds far more natural and professional than simply saying, "I said it again." Let me reiterate. The deadline cannot move no matter what. Say it with me. Let me reiterate that. And on the opposite side, when a conversation starts wandering away from the actual topic, native speakers have a specific word for that too. Digress. To digress means to move away from the main subject you were talking about, often accidentally. Sorry, I'm digressing. Let's get back to the timeline issue. This is incredibly useful because it lets you politely bring a conversation back on track without sounding rude. Say it. Sorry, I'm digressing. Pause for a second and notice something important. You've just learned 9 pieces of real, usable C1, C2 vocabulary. Articulate, elaborate on, nuance, imply, infer, apprehensive, diplomatic, candid, vague, reiterate, and digress. And you learned every single one of them attached to a real breathing conversation, not a random list. That's excellent work, and I mean that. Most learners never get this far in a single sitting because they get bored staring at a word list. You didn't do that. You just lived through a conversation, and that's exactly how fluent speakers built their vocabulary too. One real moment at a time. Let's shift now into the second block because workplace vocabulary is only one weakness a real conversation exposes. The next one is even more personal, emotional and personality vocabulary, the words you reach for. When someone asks how you actually feel, not how your textbook taught you to answer. Here's the truth about most English learners at your level. You can say, "I'm happy" and "I'm sad" perfectly. But real conversations rarely stay that simple. Real people say things like, "Honestly, I've been feeling a bit overwhelmed lately," or "I'm just kind of indifferent about the whole situation." If those sentences feel slightly unfamiliar to you right now, that's exactly the weakness we're about to fix. Let's start with overwhelmed, which means having more to deal with emotionally or practically. Then you feel able to handle. It's much stronger and more specific than stressed. "I've got 3 deadlines this week. I'm honestly a bit overwhelmed." Say it. "I'm feeling overwhelmed." Next. Indifferent, meaning you have no strong feeling either way. You don't care much about the outcome. Some people love the new office layout, but honestly, I'm indifferent. Say it. "I'm indifferent about it." Now, picture this scene with me. It's evening. You're sitting across from a close friend at a small table, maybe at a quiet restaurant, the kind of place with low lighting and soft background noise. And your friend asks you something a little personal, something that makes you pause before answering. "Friend, can I ask you something? Are you okay? You've seemed kind of distant lately." You, "Yeah, I guess I have been a bit reserved." "It's not you. I've just been feeling overwhelmed with work." "Friend, I get that. You're usually pretty resilient, though. This isn't like you." You, "I know. I think I've just been meticulous about everything to the point where I'm exhausting myself. Friend, have you told your manager how you're feeling? You? Not really. I don't want to come across as someone who can't handle pressure. Friend, there's a difference between struggling and being honest about struggling. 3 important words appeared there. Reserved means quiet, not sharing your thoughts or feelings openly, someone who keeps things to themselves. He's pretty reserved at first, but once you get to know him, he opens up a lot. Say it. He's a bit reserved. Resilient means able to recover quickly from difficulties, emotionally strong, able to bounce back. She's incredibly resilient. Nothing seems to keep her down for long. Say it. She's so resilient. Meticulous means extremely careful and precise about details, sometimes to the point of being almost too careful. He's meticulous about his work. He checks everything 3 times. Say it. I'm meticulous about details. Now here's a role play moment for you, and this time I really want you to commit to it. Imagine you're the friend in that conversation, and I'm going to give you a line, then pause, and I want you to respond as if you're comforting someone who just admitted they've been overwhelmed. Here's my line, spoken as the person who's struggling. I just feel like if I slow down for even 1 second, everything will fall apart. Pause here and respond out loud, playing the supportive friend, using at least one of the words we just learned. Here's an example response you could compare yours to. You don't have to be meticulous about every single thing all the time. It's okay to be a little less perfect and still be resilient. Notice how naturally those 2 words sit inside a warm, supportive sentence. That's the goal. Words that don't feel like vocabulary. They feel like something a real friend would actually say to you. Let's add a few more personality words before we take a short breather. Assertive means confident and direct in expressing what you want or believe without being aggressive about it. You need to be more assertive in meetings. Don't just agree with everything. Say it. Be more assertive. Blunt means very direct, sometimes uncomfortably so. Saying exactly what you think without softening it much at all. Stronger and less polite sounding than candid. He can be really blunt. He just says exactly what he's thinking. Say it. He's pretty blunt. Self-conscious means feeling nervous or uncomfortable about how others perceive you. Aware of yourself in a way that makes you slightly uneasy. Uneasy. I get a bit self-conscious speaking English in front of native speakers. Say it. I feel self-conscious sometimes. And easygoing, meaning relaxed, calm, not easily upset or stressed by things, the opposite of someone who's tightly wound. She's really easygoing. Nothing seems to bother her. Say it. He's so easygoing. Nice work getting through that. You should genuinely feel proud right now, because emotional vocabulary is some of the hardest to use naturally. It requires you to actually feel something while you're speaking, not just recite a definition, and you just did that 8 times in a row. Let's slow everything down for just a moment. Take a breath. You don't need to do anything right now except listen. Let your shoulders relax. Let your mind settle. And just enjoy hearing English flow for a few seconds without any pressure to repeat anything. This is your brain's chance to quietly absorb the rhythm of everything you just practiced without effort, without forcing it. Just listen and let it settle. Okay, let's continue because there's a third weakness a real conversation exposes almost instantly, and it has nothing to do with grammar or vocabulary size. It's about confusable words, pairs of words that look or sound similar but mean completely different things. And mixing them up is one of the fastest ways to reveal that English isn't your first language, even when your fluency is otherwise excellent. Let's start with a pair I already mentioned briefly, but let's go deeper. Compliment versus compliment. A compliment with an I is something nice you say about someone. A compliment with an E means something that completes or goes well with something else. Your shoes really complement that jacket means they go well together. She gave me a lovely compliment on my presentation means she said something kind. Say both. That color complements your outfit. Thank you for the compliment. Next, discreet versus discreet. Discreet, ending in eat, means careful and quiet about something sensitive, not drawing attention. Please be discreet about the layoffs until it's officially announced. Discreet, ending in eat, means separate and distinct, individually different, and it's mostly used in technical or academic contexts. The project was divided into 3 discrete phases. Say both. Please be discreet about this. Each phase is discrete. Now, disinterested versus uninterested, and this one trips up even fairly advanced speakers. Uninterested means you simply don't care. You're bored by something. Disinterested means impartial, having no personal stake in the outcome, which actually makes it a positive quality in situations like judging or mediating a conflict. We need a disinterested third party to settle this argument. Doesn't mean someone bored. It means someone neutral. Say it. We need someone disinterested to decide. He looked completely uninterested in the meeting. And one more pair before we move on. Adverse versus averse. Adverse describes something harmful or unfavorable, like adverse weather conditions or adverse effects. Averse describes a person's feeling of strong dislike or opposition towards something, usually followed by 2. I'm not averse to trying new restaurants means I don't mind trying them. Say both. The medication had adverse effects. I'm not averse to the idea. That's already 13 more real, usable words layered into your vocabulary, and we're not even halfway through this conversation yet. Every single word you've practiced so far has come wrapped inside a real situation, a real feeling, a real exchange between 2 people, And that's exactly why you're going to remember these far longer than anything you've ever copied onto a flashcard. Let's keep moving, because the fourth weakness, a real conversation exposes, shows up the moment technology enters the chat, literally. Think about how often modern conversations drift toward apps, devices, software, updates. If your vocabulary here is stuck at "it's broken" or "it's not working," you're going to sound noticeably less fluent than someone who says, "it's a bit glitchy," or "the whole system feels outdated." Let's build this block the same way, inside a real scene. Picture two coworkers standing near a printer, one of them staring at a laptop screen with a slightly annoyed expression, waiting for something to load. Coworker A: "Is it just me? Or is this app getting worse every update?" Coworker B: "No, it's not just you. It's been glitchy all week." Coworker A: "Honestly, half the features feel obsolete compared to what our competitors are using." Coworker B: "Right. And the interface isn't even intuitive anymore. I had to look up how to export a file." Coworker A: "We really need something more streamlined." Coworker B: "Agreed. Something seamless, where you're not fighting the software just to do your job." Let's slow down on every word there. Glitchy means having small technical problems, minor malfunctions, a slightly informal but very common way to describe something that isn't working smoothly. The video call kept freezing. "It was so glitchy today." Say it. It's really glitchy. Obsolete means outdated, no longer useful because something newer and better exists. That software is basically obsolete now. Nobody uses it anymore. Say it. This is completely obsolete. Intuitive, in this context, means easy to understand and use without needing instructions, naturally logical to a user. The new design is so intuitive, I figured it out in 2 minutes. Say it. It's really intuitive. Streamlined means simplified and made more efficient, with unnecessary steps removed. We streamlined the whole process. It used to take 5 steps, now it takes 2. Say it. We streamlined it. And seamless means smooth and effortless, without any noticeable breaks, gaps, or problems. The transition between the two systems was completely seamless. Say it. It felt seamless. Now here's a phonetics moment I want you to really pay attention to, because this is one of those spots where native English quietly breaks all the rules your textbook gave you. Listen to this sentence slowly. "I have to go to the store." Now listen to how it actually sounds at natural speed. I have to go to the store. Notice have to becomes have to, and to the almost disappears into to the. This happens constantly with the words have to, going to, want to, and got to. Try it slowly first. Have to, want to, going to. Now try it fast. Have to, wanna, gonna. Say this whole sentence at natural speed with me. I gotta go. I wanna finish this first. Let's continue the technology conversation for one more exchange. And I want you to notice how naturally these coworkers disagree slightly, because real conversations almost always include a small moment of difference in opinion. Coworker A. Honestly, I think the update is a step backward. Coworker B. I don't know. I think it's just redundant in a few places, not necessarily worse. Coworker A. Redundant how? Coworker B. Like, there are 3 different menus that do basically the same thing. That's just unnecessary. Coworker A. Fair point. At least it's still versatile. You can customize almost everything. Coworker B. True, I'll give it that. Redundant means unnecessary because it's repeated elsewhere or no longer needed. Extra without adding real value. That last paragraph feels redundant. We already said that earlier. Say it. This part is redundant. Versatile means adaptable, able to be used in many different ways or situations. This tool is really versatile. You can use it for almost any project. Say it. It's incredibly versatile. Now let's practice the technique of switching roles. And this time, I genuinely want you to speak both parts out loud, one after the other, exactly like a native speaker practicing a real exchange. I'll give you Coworker A's line, and I want you to pause and answer as Coworker B, using at least one of the words we just covered. Glitchy, obsolete, intuitive, streamlined, seamless, redundant, or versatile. Here's the line. Honestly, I think we should just go back to the old system. At least it worked. Pause here and respond out loud as Coworker B, disagreeing politely and explaining why. Here's an example response for comparison. I get why you'd say that, but the old system was pretty obsolete. This one just needs to be more streamlined, not replaced completely. Notice how naturally the disagreement flows without sounding rude. That diplomatic tone we practiced earlier is doing real work here too. You're doing wonderfully so far. 20 new words deep into this video, and every single one of them arrived inside a living, breathing situation. That's not an accident. That's exactly how your brain is designed to hold on to language. Through story, through emotion, through context, not through isolated memorization. Let's move into our 5th block now. This one shifts the scene entirely. And this one shifts the scene entirely from an office to somewhere far more relaxed, travel and social situations, because the 5th weakness a real conversation exposes is what happens when you're outside your comfort zone completely. In an unfamiliar place, talking to people you've just met. Picture this with me for a moment. You've just landed in a new city, somewhere you've never been before. The airport smells like coffee and jet fuel. Announcements echo overhead in a language you're only half following, and you're dragging a suitcase toward the exit, a little disoriented from the long flight, trying to remember which direction the taxi stand was. Let's start there. Disoriented means confused about your surroundings or situation, not sure which way to go or what's happening, often used after travel, a big change, or unexpected news. I was so disoriented after the flight, I couldn't even remember what day it was. Say it. I felt completely disoriented. Now, imagine a friendly local notices you standing there looking a little lost and strikes up a conversation local. You look a little lost. Do you need help finding something? You. Yeah, honestly, I'm a bit disoriented. This is my first time here. Local. No worries. Happens to everyone. Where are you headed? You. I'm not really following a strict itinerary. I kind of just wanted to wander and see what I stumble on. Local. That's actually the best way to see this city. If you want, I can point you towards some spots off the beaten path, way better than the touristy stuff. You? That would be amazing. Thank you. Everyone here has been so hospitable so far. Let's unpack that. Itinerary means a planned route or schedule for a trip, a list of places you intend to visit. We didn't have a strict itinerary. We just went wherever felt interesting. Say it. I don't have a strict itinerary. Off the beaten path is a wonderful expression meaning somewhere not commonly visited by tourists. Unusual, less crowded, more authentic. We found this tiny restaurant off the beaten path. No tourists at all. Say it. It's totally off the beaten path. Hospitable means warm, welcoming, and generous toward guests or visitors. Everyone we met was so hospitable, they kept offering us food and directions. Say it. They were incredibly hospitable. Let's add 2 more before we continue the story. Spontaneous means done without much planning, in the moment, on impulse, often in a positive, adventurous sense. We made a spontaneous decision to hop on a train and see where it took us. Say it. It was completely spontaneous. And culture shock, a set expressions, meaning the feeling of confusion or disorientation you experience when suddenly immersed in an unfamiliar culture. The food, the pace of life, the language. It was a real culture shock at first. Say it. I had some serious culture shock. Let's finish this travel scene with one more small exchange, because I want to show you something important, how native speakers naturally react when someone finishes telling them a longer story without simply saying okay every time. Local. So how long have you been traveling for? You? About 3 weeks now. Honestly, the first few days were rough. Total culture shock. But I've slowly immersed myself in the local rhythm, and now I actually feel pretty comfortable. Local. That makes sense. It takes time to adjust. You? Yeah, it does. And being spontaneous about it has honestly made the whole trip way more memorable than if I'd planned everything down to the hour. Anne. Immerse means to become fully involved or absorbed in something, often a language, culture, or activity. The best way to learn a language is to immerse yourself in it completely. Say it. I immersed myself in it. Notice how the local responded with "that makes sense," a short reaction, rather than a full grammatically perfect sentence. Real conversations are full of these small connective phrases. That makes sense. I see. Fair enough. Makes sense. And using them naturally is actually more important for sounding fluent in every single sentence. Speaking grammar in every single sentence. Speaking of that, let's pause the story for a moment and talk directly about something crucial, a skill almost no textbook properly teaches you: how to keep up when someone speaks quickly and you don't catch every single word. This happens to every English learner, even at an advanced level. Someone speaks fast, maybe, with an unfamiliar accent, and you miss 2 or 3 words in the middle of a sentence. A sentence. Here's the secret. Native speakers don't listen for every word either. They listen for the overall meaning, the general shape of the sentence, and they fill in small gaps automatically using context. You can train yourself to do the exact same thing. Instead of panicking when you miss a word, focus on catching the key nouns and verbs. Key. The parts that carry the actual meaning, and let small connecting words slide past without stress. And while you're doing this, use small natural responses to keep the conversation flowing, even if you didn't catch everything perfectly. Things like, I see, right. That makes sense. Oh, really? These tiny phrases buy you a second to process what you heard, and they make you sound engaged and confident, even in a moment where internally you're still catching up. Try saying these with me now, quickly, one after another. I see. Right. That makes sense. Oh, really? You are honestly doing so well right now. Take a second and notice how much ground you've covered: workplace vocabulary, emotional vocabulary, confusable word pairs, technology language, travel expressions, and real listening strategy, all inside one continuous, connected experience. This is exactly the kind of depth that separates someone who passively studies English from someone who actually lives inside it. Now let's slow down again. Just for a moment, a small breathing space before we go further. Picture yourself somewhere quiet and comfortable right now. Wherever you actually are, maybe with a warm drink nearby, maybe just resting your eyes for a second. There's nothing to do here except let the sound of English settle over you gently. No pressure, no repeating, just presence. Let your mind rest for a few seconds before we pick the pace back up. All right, let's continue. Because there's one more weakness a real conversation exposes that we haven't touched yet. And it's a subtle one: the difference between using a basic, overused word and reaching instead for a richer, more precise synonym. This is often what separates someone who sounds like they're translating in their head from someone who sounds like they think in English. Let's take the most overused word in the English language, happy, and build outward from it. Instead of just happy, a native speaker might say elated, meaning extremely happy, joyful, almost overflowing with excitement. She was elated when she got the job offer. Say it. I was absolutely elated. Instead of sad, try downcast, meaning visibly unhappy or discouraged, often shown through body language, or dejected, meaning sad and without hope, discouraged after a disappointment. He looked pretty downcast after hearing the news. After failing the exam twice, she felt completely dejected. Say both. He seemed downcast. I felt dejected. Instead of tired, try drained, meaning completely without energy, emotionally or physically exhausted. Or depleted, similarly, meaning used up, emptied of energy or resources. After that meeting, I felt totally drained. Say it. I'm completely drained, instead of angry. Try irritated, meaning mildly annoyed, or its much stronger cousin, livid, meaning extremely angry, furious. There's a real difference in intensity here that matters. The delay irritated me a little is very different from the delay made him absolutely livid. Say both. That's a little irritating. He was livid about it, and instead of the plain word said, which gets repeated constantly in everyday speech, try remarked, meaning said something as an observation or comment, or stated, meaning said something clearly and formally, often with confidence. She remarked that the traffic had gotten much worse lately. He stated clearly that the deadline wouldn't move. Say both, she remarked on it. He stated it clearly. Let's put a handful of these into one more short, natural scene, because seeing them work together is far more powerful than hearing them one at a time. Friend A. How'd the interview go? Friend B. Honestly? I walked out feeling elated. I think it went really well. Friend A. That's amazing. You seemed pretty dejected about the last one. Friend B. I was. That one was rough. But this time felt completely different. The interviewer even remarked that my experience was exactly what they were looking for. Friend A. C. I told you not to be so hard on yourself. Beautiful. Notice how naturally elated and dejected sit inside a completely normal, everyday exchange between two friends, no forced vocabulary lesson. Feeling at all. Just two people talking, the way real people actually talk. Let's move into our final vocabulary block before we shift gears into pure practice. And this one focuses on something incredibly useful for real conversations specifically, the vocabulary you need to express opinions and nuance, especially when you don't fully agree with someone or you're still deciding how you feel about something. Picture a small group of friends sitting around a table, maybe after dinner, discussing something mildly controversial. Nothing serious, just a topic where people naturally have different views. Friend A. I honestly think remote work is way more productive than being in an office. Friend B. I can see both sides, to be honest. I'm kind of on the fence about it. Friend A. Really? What makes you unsure? Friend B. Well, let me play devil's advocate for a second. Remote work can be great, but it also makes it harder to strike a balance between work and personal life, since everything blends together. Friend A. That's actually food for thought. I hadn't considered that angle. Friend B. I'm not trying to shut down your point. I just think it's worth weighing in on both sides before deciding. So many rich expressions in that short exchange. On the fence means undecided, not sure which side or opinion you agree with. I'm on the fence about moving to a new city. Say it. I'm on the fence about it. Devil's advocate means someone who argues the opposite side of an argument, not necessarily because they believe it, but to test the strength of the original idea. Let me play devil's advocate for a second is a wonderfully useful phrase for disagreeing politely and constructively. Say it. Let me play devil's advocate here. Strike a balance means to find a fair middle point between two different needs or demands. It's hard to strike a balance between work and family sometimes. Say it. We need to strike a balance. Food for thought means an idea worth thinking about carefully. Something that gives you something new to consider. That's definitely food for thought. I hadn't thought about it that way. Say it. That's food for thought. And weigh in on means to give your opinion on a topic, especially in a discussion where multiple people are sharing views. I'd love for you to weigh in on this decision before we finalize it. Say it. Can you weigh in on this? You have now made it through nearly the entire vocabulary core of this lesson, and honestly, take a moment to appreciate that. You've absorbed workplace precision, language, deep emotional and personality vocabulary, tricky, confusable pairs that trip up even advanced speakers, modern technology expressions, travel and cultural vocabulary, richer emotional synonyms, and now sophisticated opinion language, all stitched together through real conversations rather than isolated lists. That is genuinely advanced work, and your consistency in saying these words out loud, again and again, is exactly what turns passive knowledge into active, automatic fluency. Let's move now into something I promised you earlier, a proper explanation of exactly what shadowing is and why it works so powerfully. Because up until now, I've been asking you to repeat after me, but true shadowing is actually a slightly different, more advanced technique. And once you understand the difference, your speaking speed will jump noticeably. Repeating after me means you listen. I stop, then you speak. Shadowing means you listen and speak at almost the exact same time, like an echo trailing just half a second behind the original voice, following the rhythm, the stress, the melody of the sentence as closely as possible without stopping to translate or think about grammar. It feels strange at first, a little uncomfortable, maybe even a little messy, and that's completely normal. The goal isn't perfect accuracy in the beginning. The goal is training your mouth and your ears to move together automatically the way they do in your first language. Let's actually try it right now together. I'm going to say a sentence at natural speed, and I want you to start speaking almost immediately after me, trailing closely behind, not waiting for me to finish first. Here we go. Honestly, I think we need to strike a balance before this gets out of hand. Try shadowing that with me one more time, staying close behind my rhythm rather than my exact words if you fall behind. Honestly, I think we need to strike a balance before this gets out of hand. Let's add one more phonetics moment here, because sentence stress changes meaning far more dramatically in English than most learners realize. Listen to this sentence 3 different ways, with the stress landing on a different word each time. I didn't say she was wrong. If you stress I, it means someone else said it, not me. If you stress say, it means I didn't actually say it out loud. Maybe I just thought it. If you stress wrong, it means I said something about her, just not that she was wrong. Try all 3 with me, exaggerating the stressed word each time. I didn't say she was wrong. I didn't say she was wrong. I didn't say she was wrong. This is a genuinely advanced listening skill, catching where the stress falls, and it will help you understand real conversations far more precisely than grammar rules ever could. And one more connected speech example before we move forward, because this pattern shows up constantly in real conversations. Listen to this question slowly. Did you eat yet? Now listen to it at natural speed. Did ya eat yet? The did you blends into something closer to did ya. Try it slowly first, then fast. Did you eat yet? Did ya eat yet? This exact pattern happens with would you, which becomes would ya, and could you, which becomes could ya. Say all 3 quickly with me. Did ya, would ya, could ya. Now let's move into something incredibly important, a self-practice exercise that turns everything you've learned today into a tool you can use completely on your own, without me, without a video, anywhere, anytime. Here's how it works. Right now, wherever you are, I want you to look around you and describe your surroundings out loud using your senses, sight, sound, feeling, and try to naturally use some of the vocabulary we practiced today. This is exactly the technique that turns passive vocabulary into automatic, reflexive language, because you're not repeating a script anymore, you're generating your own sentences using words you just learned. Using words is Sansar. Let me model it for you first, so you can hear exactly what this sounds like. I'm sitting near a window right now. The light outside looks a little dull today, kind of overcast. I can hear some faint background noise, maybe traffic in the distance. Honestly, I feel a bit drained after a long day, but also strangely content just sitting here for a moment. If I'm being candid, this small pause is exactly what I needed. Notice how naturally drained, candid, and content sit inside a completely spontaneous, unscripted description. Nothing about that sounded like a vocabulary drill. It sounded like a real person noticing their real surroundings. Now it's your turn. Pause here for about 30 seconds. Look around wherever you are and describe it out loud in English. Try to use at least 2 or 3 words from today's lesson: elated, drained, disoriented, meticulous, seamless, hospitable, on the fence. Whatever fits what you're actually noticing and feeling right now. There's no wrong answer here. The goal is simply reaching for the words. Naturally, letting your brain search for them the way it would in a real, unscripted moment. Wonderful work. However that came out for you, you just did something incredibly valuable. You generated original English using advanced vocabulary on the spot without a script to lean on. That's the exact skill that separates fluent speakers from advanced beginners. The ability to reach for the right word in the moment, not just recognize it when you hear it. Now, let's bring everything together. With a fluency round, a fast-paced review, where I move quickly through every piece of vocabulary we covered today, one after another. No pauses for explanation, just the word. And a quick natural sentence so you can feel how fluent and automatic this vocabulary can become when it's all connected together. Try to say each word with me as we move through it, staying close behind my rhythm, shadowing style, just like we practiced. Articulate. She articulated her point beautifully. Elaborate on. Can you elaborate on that? Nuance. There's a real nuance there. Imply. He implied it without saying it directly. Infer. I inferred that from her tone. Apprehensive. I felt apprehensive walking in. Diplomatic. Try to stay diplomatic about it. Candid. She was refreshingly candid. Vague. That explanation felt vague. Reiterate. Let me reiterate my point. Digress. Sorry, I'm digressing. Overwhelmed. I've been feeling overwhelmed. Indifferent. Honestly, I'm indifferent. Reserved. He's naturally reserved. Resilient. She's remarkably resilient. Meticulous. He's meticulous about details. Assertive. Be more assertive next time. Blunt. She can be pretty blunt. Self-conscious. I felt self-conscious about it. Easygoing. He's incredibly easygoing. Compliment. That scarf complements the outfit. Compliment. Thank you for the compliment. Discreet. Please be discreet about it. Discreet. They're two discrete issues. Disinterested. We need a disinterested opinion. Uninterested. He looked totally uninterested. Adverse. There were adverse effects. Averse. I'm not averse to trying it. Glitchy. The app's been glitchy lately. Obsolete. That model is basically obsolete. Intuitive. The design feels intuitive. Streamlined. We streamlined the process. Seamless. The transition felt seamless. Redundant. That step feels redundant now. Versatile. It's a wonderfully versatile tool. Disoriented. I felt completely disoriented. Itinerary. We skipped the strict itinerary. Off the beaten path. We found somewhere off the beaten path. Hospitable. Everyone was so hospitable. Spontaneous. It was a spontaneous decision. Culture shock. It was quite a culture shock. Immerse. I immersed myself in it fully. Elated. I was absolutely elated. Downcast. He looked pretty downcast. Dejected. She felt completely dejected. Drained. I'm honestly drained today. Irritated. That's mildly irritating. Livid. He was absolutely livid. Remarked. She remarked on the traffic. Stated. He clearly stated his position. On the fence. I'm on the fence about it. Devil's advocate. Let me play devil's advocate. Strike a balance. We need to strike a balance. Food for thought. That's real food for thought. Weigh in on. Feel free to weigh in on it. Look at everything you just moved through. Out loud, at speed. One word flowing into the next, almost like a real conversation's itself. That is genuinely impressive, and it's a completely different experience from silently reading a vocabulary list, isn't it? You didn't just recognize these words today. You spoke every single one of them, multiple times, inside real living situation. Before we finish, I want to give you one clear, specific action, not a vague like and subscribe, but something that will actually lock this vocabulary into your long-term memory. Right now, in the comments below this video, write one full sentence using any word from today's lesson, describing something that's actually true for you. Right now, your mood, your surroundings, your day. Something like, I'm honestly a bit drained today, but this lesson was exactly what I needed. Or, I've been feeling pretty overwhelmed lately, but I'm trying to strike a balance. Writing it down publicly in a real sentence about your real life is what transforms today's vocabulary from something you heard into something you own. You showed up today. You stayed with me through workplace pressure, emotional honesty, tricky word pairs, technology, talk, travel stories, richer synonyms, and nuanced opinions, and you spoke every single piece of it out loud, again and again. That consistency is exactly what builds real fluency, not overnight, not through one video, but through showing up. One conversation at a time, the way you just did today. I'll see you in the next lesson. Same time, same place, ready to keep building the English that actually lives inside you. Take care of yourself, keep practicing, and I'll talk to you very soon.